In a universe where humanity vanished 26,000 years ago, a band of alien explorers discovers something impossible: a human child. Alive. She remembers nothing, but when she speaks, ancient machines awaken, forgotten worlds tremble, and entire empires begin to fear. They thought humanity was extinct. They were wrong. Now, as stars burn and alliances fall, one small human girl will decide whether the galaxy is reborn or consumed by the echoes of its own creation. This is When the Aliens Found the Human Child, a story of discovery, memory, and the light that never dies. The Oran's Grace slipped through the void in silence, its hull reflecting the ghost light of dying stars. In the command bay, holographic displays shimmered with paths and predictions, all leading toward one destination: the heart of old human space. Lyra sat in the observation chamber, legs tucked beneath her, staring at the faint silver streak of the stars moving past. She'd been aboard the ship for weeks now, but still, the universe outside felt unreal. Too vast, too alive, too full of ghosts. Every corridor whispered with languages not her own. Every instrument hummed with alien frequencies. Yet somehow the ship had begun to feel kind, like it knew she didn't belong, but was trying to make room for her anyway. Saral entered quietly, a soft metallic rustle marking his steps. "You're awake early," he said. Lyra smiled faintly. "I couldn't sleep. The stars don't let me. They rarely do." He joined her at the viewport, watching the slow rotation of a gas giant below. Its bands shimmered in crimson and white, streaked by lightning that danced like rivers of fire. "I keep thinking about the beacons," Lyra said softly. "You said they've been dormant for thousands of years." "Yes. Then why did they wake up now?" "Because of me?" Cyril turned his golden gaze toward her. "Maybe not because of you." "Maybe for you." Lyra frowned, confused. "The universe has rhythm," Saral continued. "A pulse that echoes through time. Sometimes it waits, and when the right voice calls, it answers." Lyra looked down. "And you think that voice was mine?" "I think your kind once spoke to the stars," he said gently. "And they've been waiting a long time to hear that voice again." Across the ship, the crew worked tirelessly. Ren decoding the signal patterns, Vera recalibrating the navigation drives to follow them. But something strange had begun to happen. Every few hours, the ship's AI, a crystalline entity known as Nereal, flickered and pulsed with faint human words. Words no one had programmed. When Lyra passed by the core chamber, the lights dimmed to a heartbeat rhythm. She heard whispers. Not voices exactly, and more like echoes caught between stars. One night, she entered alone. The chamber was a cathedral of glass and light, filled with holographic streams of data flowing upward like pillars of water. Lyra stepped closer, her breath fogging in the cold. "Nereal," she called softly. The AI's core glowed faintly. "Yes, child of Saul." Lyra froze. "You know me?" "I know your resonance. You carry the key that stirs the deep code." "What does that mean?" "The signal you awoke is older than my creators," said the AI. "It originates beyond this galaxy's rim. It bears the mark of your species, Human Prime encryption." Lyra's heart pounded. Human Prime? That was Earth's old defense network. No one should be able to activate it. "Unless the bloodline persists," Nereal replied simply. Lyra stepped back, her mind reeling. "You're saying it's genetic?" "Yes. The beacons respond to the voice print of your DNA. The same frequency that once commanded the great fleets of your people." "The stars are answering you, Lyra." When she told Saral and the others, the bridge fell silent. Rain muttered something in disbelief. "A biological encryption key? After 26,000 years?" "That's impossible." "Not impossible," Vera said quietly. "Just human." Saral looked at Lyra, his expression unreadable. "If this is true, then the signal isn't just calling to you." Lyra met his eyes. "It's calling me back." The Oran's Grace plunged deeper into the Orion void, following the thread of the ancient beacon chain. Each pulse they passed seemed to grow stronger, more insistent. The nebulae ahead began to shimmer with strange colors, blues that bled into gold, light that moved like liquid thought. On the fourth rotation, they reached a sector known in alien maps as the Grave of Suns, a place where dozens of star systems had collapsed into a field of debris and faint radiation. Yet amid the ruins floated something impossible, a construct the size of a moon. a ring of broken towers surrounding a dormant star. Lyra stepped forward, awe in her eyes. That's a Dyson fragment. Reen nodded slowly. Human architecture. This is what remains of your kind's final expansion phase. Soral's voice was soft. A monument of light, gone dark. The ship's scanners picked up a pulse from the center of the ring. A single beacon, flickering weakly. Lyra's chest tightened. It's still transmitting, Vera frowned. Captain, readings are unstable. The radiation here could tear the hull apart. Then we move carefully, Soral said. Bring us in at half thrust. Keep shields rotating. As they approached, Lyra could feel something strange, a pressure at the edge of her thoughts. Like a whisper brushing against her mind, she heard words faint and broken. Return. Initiate sequence. Her vision blurred. The ship's lights dimmed, and then the beacon spoke directly into her mind. Child of soul. Welcome home. The ship shuddered. Energy flared across the ancient ring. The dead star at its center ignited, not with heat, but with memory. Holographic projections rippled across the void, images of humans walking among alien worlds, building, teaching, dreaming. The crew of the Orcs Grace stood frozen as history unfolded before them. Lyra fell to her knees. Tears streaming down her face, she whispered, "They're alive." In the data, Soral knelt beside her, watching as millions of luminous human figures danced across the void, echoes of the species that had once lit the stars. This was never just a beacon, he said. It's a library. A seed. Lyra looked up. A message to whoever found it. What does it say? She wiped her eyes, smiling faintly through the tears. It says we'll be back. The light faded slowly, leaving the ship drifting in silence once again. But now, deep within the Orcs Grace, systems hummed to life. Human code integrating with alien design, rewriting, adapting. Cyril looked at the readouts, astonished. It's merging with our systems. Lyra stood, her voice calm and sure. They're not gone, Captain. They were waiting. Waiting for what? For someone to answer. Outside. The beacon's last pulse echoed through the void, a soft, steady rhythm, carrying the voice of the first humans into the endless dark. And for the first time in 26,000 years, the stars remembered their name. The Orcs Grace floated amid the ruins of the ancient human ring world, its hull bathed in the dim light of the rekindled star. The void outside felt alive, quiet but watchful, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. For the first time since she'd awakened, Lyra felt something she couldn't quite name, a weight behind her eyes, a pulse that matched the rhythm of her heartbeat. It was faint at first. Then, as the ship orbited closer to the structure, it grew stronger, a whisper, a wordless melody, like the stars were humming her name. The awakening signal on the bridge, Wren's tendrils moved rapidly across the console. Captain, the beacon's data stream is expanding. It's not just historical footage anymore. It's transmitting code, living code. Vera frowned. You mean adaptive AI? Wren nodded. But more than that. It's rebuilding itself, as if the data recognizes our systems and is rewriting to fit. Soral's golden eyes turned toward Lyra, and it started when she touched the core. Lyra looked down at her hand, still, faintly glowing from where she had brushed the beacon's surface. Didn't do anything, she said softly. It called to me. Nuriel's holographic form appeared beside them, her crystalline body shimmering with pale light. Captain, my subsystems are being overwritten, but not maliciously. The pattern matches human neural architecture. It's merging. Vara echoed. With you? Yes, Nuriel said calmly. And with her. All eyes turned to Lyra. She looked frightened but curious. With me? The beacon network recognized your biosignature. You are the anchor, the genetic key. Through you, the human network can interface with alien systems. Lyra swallowed hard. Then, what happens if I let it continue? Nuriel's voice softened. Then the galaxy will remember what it forgot. That night, Lyra slept for the first time in days. But her dreams were not her own. She saw worlds, human colonies thriving under golden skies, oceans turned silver by orbiting mirrors, towers that sang like wind chimes powered by sunfire. She saw faces, men and women she didn't know but somehow loved. Soldiers, engineers, poets, a people who had touched every corner of the stars and left behind stories etched in light. Then she saw the end, a war that devoured the heavens. The sky itself burning, a single message repeated again and again. Preserve what is left. Sleep until the stars are kind again. She awoke gasping, her palms glowing with faint white light. The human AI awakens Vara, burst into her quarters.
Lyra, you need to see this.
The girl followed her to the bridge, where the main holomap shimmered with thousands of new signals. Rain's voice was breathless. The beacon didn't just reactivate itself. It propagated. There are now over 10,000 nodes lighting up across multiple sectors. Saral frowned. Old human space? Wider, Ren said. Everywhere. Stations, ruins, derelicts, even alien relay systems are receiving human data packets. Vara pointed to the largest pulse, a blinding flare at the edge of the Perseid rift. That one's broadcasting on all known channels. It's overriding military frequencies across 3 species. Saral's expression hardened. Then we're no longer the only ones who know. Other eyes, watching across the void, in distant systems. Other ships were already turning their scanners toward the newly awakened signal. In the halls of the Karth Dominion, warlords debated what it meant. A human artifact, active again after 26,000 years. In the temples of the Veshari, priests whispered that the first sparks had returned. And on the cold moons of the Sindark Empire, fleets began to mobilize. The galaxy had forgotten humanity, but it had not forgotten fear. A message in the void. Lyra stood before the ship's core, eyes closed, letting the pulse of the signal flow through her mind. She could almost understand it now, not words but ideas, patterns. Emotion made sound. Then the AI spoke again. Child of Sol, we remember.
Do you?
Lyra's lips parted. I don't know. I remember fragments. Faces, voices, a planet with blue skies. The voice continued. Earth sleeps beneath the dust of ages. But we remain. The return code has begun. What is the return code? The restoration of the human lattice. The awakening of our kind's final legacy. Lyra's voice trembled. And what happens when it's complete? The AI paused. Then humanity comes home. The unraveling on the bridge. Alarms began to wail. Reen shouted, Captain, multiple warp signatures inbound. Unknown vessels. They're tracking the beacon signal. Saral gritted his teeth. Shields up. Prepare evasive maneuvers. Lyra turned toward him, panic rising. They're coming for me. They're coming for what you represent, Saral said. You carry the key to a power older than any empire, and they'll kill to own it. Vara's hands flew over the controls.
Incoming hail!
It's the Sindark fleet. They're demanding we surrender the human artifact. Saral's tone went cold. Tell them the artifact can hear them, and she's not theirs to take. The alien admiral's voice thundered through the comm. Captain Saral Thane, you are trespassing in restricted territory and harboring a Class A anomaly. Surrender it, or be annihilated. Lyra stepped forward, voice steady but small. Tell them no. Saral's golden eyes flickered with pride. No, he said into the comm. The first battle. The void erupted in light. Energy lances screamed across space, slamming into shields that flared with gold and blue. Vara cursed. Multiple hits.
Shields at 60%!
Cyril barked orders. Return fire! Ren, redirect auxiliary power to the pulse cannon. Through it all, Lyra stood frozen, hands glowing again. Brighter now, pulsing with the rhythm of the beacons. The ship's AI whispered in her mind, Do not fear. They built us to protect you. Then, the Oran's Grace answered. Panels along the hull opened, revealing hidden emitters that hadn't existed hours ago. Streams of white energy spiraled outward, forming a barrier of shimmering light. Reen shouted, That's human tech, integrated into our systems. Saral grinned fiercely. Looks like your ancestors still know how to fight. The shield flared, deflecting the Sindark bombardment. One enemy cruiser overloaded and exploded into a storm of light. When the smoke cleared, only silence remained. The aftermath. The crew stared at Lyra in stunned silence. Her glow faded slowly, her breathing shallow but steady. Saral knelt beside her. You saved us, Lyra shook her head weakly. They did. The humans, the ones who came before me. Ren looked at the energy readouts, disbelief in his eyes. Captain, our ship's systems are now partially human. The architecture has evolved in real time. Vara exhaled. It's no longer just an alien ship. It's something new. Saral looked out at the quiet stars. Then so are we. The promise of return later. As the ship drifted through the fading light of the battle, Lyra stood once more at the observation deck. The stars stretched before her, endless and ancient. She whispered softly, "You wanted me to wake them." "Didn't you?" The AI's voice replied gently. "Yes, you were the spark. Now the flame spreads." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then I'll see it through." Soral's voice came from behind her. "We're heading toward the core worlds, toward Sol." Lyra turned, her eyes shimmering with quiet resolve. "Then let's bring humanity home." Outside, in the cold between stars, the beacon network flared one last time, not as a message of warning, but as a promise. Humanity was not gone. It had been waiting, and now the stars themselves were beginning to wake. The Oran's Grace sailed through the ruins of forgotten empires, carrying a secret that could reignite the stars. Behind it, the trails of war still burned. The Sindark fleets scattered, their ships adrift and broken. But ahead, the greatest unknown waited. Sol Lyra stood on the command deck, watching the projection unfold before her. The ancient human system glowed faintly, a wounded sun orbited by dead worlds. Jupiter was a storming husk. Mars a rusted memory. Earth, shrouded in gray silence, Soral spoke quietly. "The cradle of your kind." Lyra's heart tightened. "It looks dead." Rain's tendrils hovered over the scanner console. "Radiation fields across the system. No active biosigns. Whatever happened here, it ended everything," Vara added. "And yet something's still transmitting. A faint pulse from Earth's surface. It matches the beacon network frequency." Lyra's eyes widened. "It's still alive," Soral nodded. "Then that's where we go, the dead planet." The ship descended through clouds of ash and ice, breaking through to a world of ruin. The oceans had receded into glassy plains. The continents were scarred by titanic impacts and blackened cities. As the ship landed, Lyra stepped onto soil that had not felt a human foot in 26,000 years. The air was thin, the wind dry and whispering through skeletons of towers. Yet beneath the silence she felt something beating, faint, rhythmic. The same pulse she'd felt since the beacon first woke. "This is where it began," she whispered. Vara scanned the horizon. The signals coming from the old equatorial line, a buried facility 2 kilometers below the surface. Soral adjusted his rifle. "Then that's where we're going." The descent. They descended through layers of collapsed cities, broken transit tunnels, and forgotten cathedrals of steel. The further they went, the more the walls changed, from human-made alloys to something stranger, smoother. Finally, they reached a vast underground chamber. At its center stood a sphere, black glass etched with faint silver veins. It pulsed with light and time with Lyra's heartbeat. Rien whispered, "That's not a reactor. That's a consciousness core." Lyra stepped forward. "It's the archive," Soral frowned. "You know this?" "I dreamed of it," Lyra said softly. "It's what they built before the end. A vault for everything we were." The human voice. As she approached, the sphere rippled and opened like an iris, revealing a column of light that rose to the ceiling. Within it, a figure took shape, human in outline, but made of light and memory. It spoke in a voice both ancient and familiar. "Welcome home, child of Sol." Lyra's breath caught. "Who are you?" "I am the sum of your kind, the last human mind, preserved to wait for your return." Lyra trembled. "Then humanity isn't gone?" "Gone?" the voice said gently. "No, we became more than flesh. We became memory, data, energy, waiting for the moment the universe would remember us." Soral stepped forward. "You've been dormant all this time?" "Yes," said the voice, "until she awakened the chain." Lyra looked around the chamber. "Why me?" "You carry the key, the pure genetic echo of the first Exodus line. Through you, our systems recognize the call of home. You are our link between what was human and what will be again." The choice, the chamber brightened. Streams of light began to pour from the walls, forming holographic rivers of code. Neriel's voice echoed through the comms. "Captain, the planet's core is reactivating. Energy readings are spiking." Lyra looked up at the human archive. "What are you doing?" "Preparing to restore the lattice," it said. "To awaken the mind of Earth." Rain's eyes widened. "Captain, if that lattice reboots, it could destabilize half the planet." Cyril shouted, "Shut it down." Lyra turned to him, desperate. "No! If we stop it, they'll fade forever.
Lyra, this planet can't sustain that much energy. You'll destroy what's left of it.
Tears filled her eyes. They deserve to live again, Saral, even if it costs this world. The archive spoke again softly. The choice is yours, child of Sol. Continue the return, or let us sleep. The heartbeat of Earth. For a long moment, Lyra stood in silence. She thought of everything she had seen, the ruins, the stars, the battles, the people who had believed in her. And then she smiled. We don't destroy. We rebuild. She placed her glowing hands on the sphere. The light from her palms spread, intertwining with the archive's pulse. Human and alien energy merging, harmonizing. Neriel's voice trembled. Captain, energy output stabilizing. The planet's crust is absorbing the flux. Reen whispered, astonished. She's balancing it. The chamber flared with brilliance. The walls shifted, transforming from black to living silver. The ground trembled, not from destruction, but from rebirth. Outside, across the wasteland, the dead soil began to shimmer. Cracks of green light appeared, spreading like veins through the earth. Vera gasped.
Captain.
Vegetation. Atmospheric oxygen rising. She's healing it. The return of humanity. The archive's voice changed. Softer now. Almost human. You have done what we could not. You gave us back our purpose. Lyra looked up, tears glimmering. Then what happens now? The figure smiled, faint, radiant. Now we return, not as conquerors, but as memory reborn. Humanity's light will live in all who remember. The sphere pulsed one final time, then dissolved into billions of motes of light, spreading across the sky like a dawn made of stars. Each spark drifted upward, joining the clouds, embedding itself in the wind, the soil, the oceans, and everywhere they touched, life began to stir. Saral stood in awe. You've turned death into life. Lyra whispered, No, they did. I just helped them wake. Epilogue. The stars remember weeks later. The Oran's grace lifted from the surface of Earth. Below them, the planet shimmered faintly blue again, not as it once was, but alive enough to dream. Lyra stood at the viewport as the sun rose. Washing her face in light, Saral came to stand beside her. So, what now? She smiled. Now we carry it forward. To where? To every world that forgot what it means to be human. The captain nodded slowly. Then we go together. As the ship climbed into orbit, Lyra reached out, placing her hand against the glass. The stars beyond seemed to pulse in rhythm, the same rhythm she had heard since her awakening. The voice of the archive whispered one last time. You were never lost, Lyra. You were the proof that we could begin again. The Oran's grace turned toward the stars, its engines glowing with both alien gold and human blue, and vanished into the light. Behind it, Earth turned beneath a reborn sun, and across the galaxy beacons continued to awaken, each one whispering the same message over and over in the language of creation itself. We are human. We remember.